morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Vaughn Lane. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, and, of course, get those questions in. We're going to get to all of those here in just a little bit. Maybe not all, but a lot of those here in just a little bit. Practice has started, guys. We are, 30 days away from kickoff, and we got a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right into it. Sark meets with the media yesterday, and he seemed, I don't know about y'all, but I thought he seemed a little upbeat, a little excited about everything. And I want to play all what he
better be. He better be with this team.
Here's what he had to say about the first day of camp.
Fun, sweating. It was great. It was hot. But I love training camp. You know, we do so much right now in our profession that when you get 2 hours on the grass with your team, like I eat that up. And it was fun for me. You know, I tried to really watch our team today and not just be so enamored with just the quarterback and the receivers. I was trying to watch a little bit more, get a sense and a feel. Like I said, I wanted to see our coaches coach. We got some new faces. And so I enjoyed it. I had a blast.
You know what I took from that, Bobby, is I think it makes these guys appreciate the on the field so much more nowadays because they have so many off the field duties, whether that's portal, whether that's recruiting. Everything is year round, 85 miles an hour and a 55, right? That's what it feels like every day for these guys. When you can actually take a break from that and get on the football field, I think I saw a lot of excited coaches yesterday, and I think it's because their job is so stressful year-round that they actually makes them probably appreciate what they got into this for.
I just got to start with it. I mean, it makes me appreciate what I got in it for.
Yeah.
I saw football yesterday on the grass, and look, I think that it was for somebody that covers it like we do, or somebody that coaches it like Steve Sarkisian does. Yesterday is when you get to open the presents. That's just what it is. I mean, I'm not saying that there's final decisions being made or, you can't read too much into it. Even Sark talked about that. But it's when you get to open the presents, man. It's Christmas Day. Now, got to deploy the presents later and actually use them. But I tell you what, yesterday was a lot of fun for me. I get to see not just the Arch Mannings of the world and Cam Coleman's and Ryan Wingo's. Man, he had a pretty catch over the shoulder in the back of the end zone from Arch. But just a lot of different pieces to it yesterday. The culmination of a lot of things. New players down on the field. I really got a chance to look at Bo Masco in depth yesterday and really like what I saw from the corner out of Rutgers. But just a fun time. And to your point, Jerry, and Blake, you said Sark was upbeat. He was upbeat. At the same time, he also was a guy that was like, okay, we got some work to do. I felt like it was a well-rounded press conference afterwards, but man, we got to get about 20 minutes in of watching the team work out, warm up, et cetera, throw the ball around. Jerry, people have asked me my biggest takeaway from yesterday, and having slept on it last night, and you and I talked about it. I talked about it out of the gate. This is that catch from Wingo, from Arch. I mean, you think this is a well-placed ball? That's crazy. But my point that I was saying, my one major takeaway from yesterday, the offensive line looked fundamentally different. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but Brandon Baker, I mean, and I want to say this the right way, he looked like he had some baby fat last year a little bit, right? He wasn't necessarily chill. He came out yesterday, Jerry. His body's transformed. Jaden Chapman at left guard, much bigger and looks more like a guard now after having been trying to be a tackle for so long. Good weight brought on. You're looking at the tight ends right now, but other guys that I thought looked really, really good. Lawrence Seymour was our first look at him. He's built like a fire hydrant, but he may be as quick as anybody on the offensive line. So I felt like the offensive line itself, Melvin Siani's a good-looking dude. Looks like a right tackle in the SEC. Trevor Gooseby, of course, is who he is. He's a high-level first-round pick. I felt my biggest takeaway yesterday was the offensive line. It really was, because we've made so much about it this offseason. I just wanted to see how they looked. Jordan Coleman, holy cow. Jackson Christian, they're building a unit there. I would say that.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is a couple of the player-by-player things. With Brandon Baker, it's that I agree, and that's that natural progression of a guy,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that's why we have to be careful rushing. And I think Sark talked about this yesterday, rushing these guys' development. I think that's the natural thing to do nowadays. Is everybody wants to rush a player's development, whether that's people that cover the team, whether that's the fans, whether that's national media talking about guys. Everything's is so super duper instant gratification now. It's gone past instant gratification. It's super duper instant gratification. We're trying to rush all these guys' development. And the one thing I know from 2+ decades in this business, you can't do that, especially with the bigger body guys. Some of these guys need time to develop their frame, develop as a player. I mean, you talked about Jaden Chapman. Jaden Chapman hadn't been healthy enough at Texas to have consistent off seasons. Now he may be healthy for the first time. And what is that for an extended period of time? What does that do for him? I mean, like, that's what we're talking about with, like, and we'll get to the other guys later, with like a Justice Terry and with like a Jonah Williams. Those guys hadn't been healthy enough to actually do true football activities year round. And this may be the first year they can. Hopefully they stay healthy enough, and Jonah still won't because of baseball. But in the case of a Justice Terry, this may be the first year he actually gets a chance to do football activities for an entire year if he stays healthy, dating back to his junior year in high school. Think about how much that will do for a guy if he's able to stay healthy. Look, I think I've been told multiple times Texas really likes those young offensive linemen. I know people in chat say, it doesn't matter. What does that do to help Texas this year? Well, there's more years than this year for me. And Jordan Coleman, Devin Coleman, Jackson Christian, those guys get really good returns. How much are we going to see that on the field this year? Probably very little, unless there's major injuries across the board on the offensive line. But that stuff is very important to me because, I mean, look, this year is very important, but I'm after 30 and 40 wins, not just 10. It's development for me. I'm big on the development of these big bodies. And I thought the offensive line, they look more physically like an SEC offensive line than me. And some of that's adding a Melvin Siani, right? Moving Baker in the guard. But some of it's also those backup guys that were recruited really are developing physically. And Jordan Coleman had to drop a few, streamline a little bit, right? Devin Coleman just his body will look a little different as he gets older. Jackson Christian, same thing. But those guys are starting to have really good looks to them physically. So you're seeing the physical development across the board.
I think CJ and I were talking, and CJ's guy who transformed his body the most, in CJ's opinion, was Nick Townsend. In my opinion, it was Brandon Baker.
Yeah.
Of the whole team.
I'll throw another one out there.
Yeah.
Because I saw him his senior year, Kosei Okpala. Holy hell. Like, Kosei Okpala is put together, man. I mean, like, I would love to know what his body fat percentage is. It ain't much.
A lot of people are asking.
If Matas was 6%, we saw him Tuesday. If Matas is 6% body fat at 6'11", 7 foot 255, Kosei Okpala is probably in that range, 5-6% body fat. It's a crazy number.
We're going to have Hank South join us. He was focused on the quarterbacks and receivers yesterday, so we'll talk a little Arch Manning in a minute. But first, I need to tell everybody about our sponsor. Every Thursday morning's Coffee and Football brought to you by our friends over at Vaughn Lane. Vaughn Lane is crossing the Red River starting September 8th. Vaughn Lane is relaunching its Dallas to Oklahoma City route with multiple daily departures 7 days a week. Riders have been asking for this one to come back, and it's finally here. Whether you've got business in OKC, family up there, or you just want to catch a game without the 3-hour drive, you can book right now at vaughnlane.com. And here's what makes Vaughn Lane different from hopping on a flight. No bag fees, no paying $80 just to pick a seat, no TSA lines. You walk into a hotel terminal, board a coach with just 22 first-class leather seats, Enjoy Starlink Wi-Fi, complimentary snacks, drinks, and hot towel service. The fare is a flat $129 one way with no hidden charges. No hidden charges. Try getting that kind of transparency from an airline. Von Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Oklahoma City, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Head to vonlane.com. Use promo code OTF26 for $20 off your first trip. Von Lane, your private jet on wheels. Thank you so much for your ongoing sponsorship of On Texas Football. Hook 'em from the folks at Von Lane.
All right, well, let's bring him on in, our own Hank South. Good morning to you, Hank.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good. Hey, Hank, we wanted to talk to you. You got a chance to really focus in on Arch Manning yesterday. He is the leader of this team. When they came out and did the beginning of practice, they have one player go to the middle of the field and lead the team. It was Arch Manning that went to the middle of the field and did that. You got a chance to watch him a lot. What did you think of a young man from New Orleans?
Yeah, like you said, he was taking on a big leadership role. Even that jumping jack drill they do after the stretch line where he's out in the middle. Beyond that, they went to the opposite field where the defensive line and edge guys were. He was. I saw him talking to KJ over there and giving the younger guys pointers, Dia Bell. And then when it was time for them to come back over, I mean, he was sprinting. He was 5 or 10 yards ahead of those two guys, or the rest of the QB line and the coaches trying to keep up with him to get back to the other side of the field. So he was kind of taking the bull by the horns. He came out. He was one of the first guys on the field. I know Texas posted that video of him jogging onto the field. But, overall, and again, they weren't – the receivers weren't guarded by anybody. It was all routes on air. But what I was looking for is that leadership aspect, the timing with the new receivers. And, I thought he looked really good. I saw a couple passes. There was back-to-back passes where it was Cam Coleman on a crossing route, and I think there was a 12-yard comeback. And he was a little high on both of them. Cam had to jump. But beyond that, I think those were the only two balls out of his or KJ Lacey's hand that I saw on the ground. So I thought he looked good. Everyone's asking about that intermediate passing game, the layups. Seemed to be on target yesterday. We'll see again today. It's day one. You can't glean that much. But I thought he looked good.
Yeah, I said this on the – we have we're talking about practice fun thread where people can ask questions on OTF all day. Go ahead and jump into that if you haven't. But I was talking about that. I think the one thing with Arch that we all have to be cautious of is the on air is so different from a game. Like people want answers. Oh, is he improved in the hitting the layups, as Sark said, talked about he needs to do this year. We're not going to know that till the games in reality. Like that. So with quarterbacks, when they're under pressure, when things break down, do you revert to old tendencies? That's always the key with athletes, right? And especially a quarterback, especially with a point guard. So that is the thing with Arch, I think, to know is I thought Arch looked really good yesterday. I think he looks great physically, by the way. Yeah. One thing he talked about at Manning Passing Academy when CJ and I were there was he got up into the mid-230s just to see what it felt like, and he hated it. And he was back down to the low 220s yesterday. So looked really good physically. He's just one of the better deep ball throwers out there. And I can't wait to see in games this year those first few throws that he knows, when you look at every quarterback looks at their season, every player looks at their season, says, okay, where can I improve? I can't wait to see those first few throws of Arch this year in games that he would say, I missed too many last year. When the pressure's on him, when the walls are closing in, when maybe he doesn't have time to have perfect mechanics, where is that going to be at for him? I can't wait to see it in games this year. I know this. You can tell by being at Manning Passing Academy in the summer, that was a focus. Even Cooper talked about that a little bit. That's a big focus. I can't wait to see how much improvement he's made.
Hey, Hank, you also followed the other quarterbacks around yesterday. KJ Lacey and Dia Bell, MJ Morris, the transfer from Coastal Carolina. Is KJ Lacey the clear number 2 at this point, in your opinion?
Yeah, I really don't think there's any question. And he plays like he's the number 2. Like he was the most accurate guy behind Arch, if not just as accurate as Arch on the day. I think, it goes back to what Jerry asked Sark at SEC Media Days. He's playing his best football since he's been at Texas so far. He's confident. He knows this system. He's been with AJ Milwee now. He's been with Mike Monte and Sark, of course. And so he's comfortable in this. And again, he's not a guy that's going to go out and flash and break off big runs or, make those wow plays, but he's going to move the ball down the field. And he's not the deep ball thrower like Arch, but he's not going to put you in situations where you're turning the ball over or you're behind the stick. So I don't think there's any question. Diabell, I thought flashed at times. Of course, he's a true freshman. He's still got, a learning curve. MJ Morris, he was fourth in line. He had some struggles. I saw him struggle on a handoff with Jet Walker as well, too. They kind of botched a handoff. So I don't think it's any situation where it's, Matthew Caldwell starts from behind, then ascends to number 2 quarterback. I think KJ Lacey is your number 2 quarterback, and it was pretty clear yesterday.
I have a question about Diabell as well. The tool set. He was number 1 quarterback, number 2 quarterback, depending on whose rankings you took, right? What did you think of him during the workout, and what does he seem to have that makes him special? Like, what's his X factor?
Yeah. For me, he has NBA pedigree. His dad was a professional athlete. He's been around competitive sports. He's a competitive kid. I think that's kind of what sets him apart. Obviously he's got a great frame. He's accurate. He's got the tools. What I'm watching is he didn't play much his senior season. He had to get that surgery that knocked him out the rest of the year. He missed time late in his junior season with another injury. So it's how, and he's been on campus since January. So, he's been through a semester. He's learning everything, but how quickly can he be ready to potentially be game ready? Because he's still raw. He's still developing. But he's got a big arm. He's accurate. He's got that great frame. But I think his competitiveness and just how he was been raised, I think that kind of sets him apart. And compared to other quarterbacks that were in the 26 class.
Hey, Hank, you also were checking out the wide receivers because that's who they were throwing to most of the time. Saw a little bit of the running backs and tight ends as well. Anybody or anything catch your eye in that category?
Yeah, I don't think we talk enough about maybe we do, but Michael Masunis, I think he's going to be a real player for this team. He was leading the tight end line. I thought it was interesting. Really, Steve Kasula, the new analyst that came from Michigan, he kind of was leading the tight end drills. I don't know if that was by design or Jeff Banks trying to focus more on.
Yeah, we were standing there. He ran the drills that Jeff Banks normally is very vocal in running. I thought that was interesting that Banks was more in a watching mode than the coaching, the drill mode yesterday. That's the first time we've seen that. It was a really good point Hank made on that.
And he was really hands-on. He was having them, the drill where they're opening their hips, not pivoting, and that first step. And he was literally right behind the tight end, so their foot couldn't drop back. Like it had to go forward. So I thought that was interesting. Masunis looks the part. Obviously, Nick Townsend transformed his body. Sark spoke highly of him. But I think we're going to see more production out of that tight end room this season. The running backs, I saw a little bit of them. I thought Hollywood Smothers looked really explosive. Mike Terry got a shout out from Sark for the day. People have been asking about him. But the receivers, Cam Coleman looks like Cam Coleman. I thought Ryan Wingo probably had the best day personally, just watching him. He was leading the drills there. And then Dalen McCutcheon, and again, I think y'all talked about it yesterday on the live. He was going with the ones when we saw them ahead of Emmett Mosley, but Emmett Mosley was with ones prior to us coming in. So, they've got depth at wide receiver and guys that can enter that circle of trust for Sark. Obviously, we saw Dalen McCutcheon ascend to that last season as a true freshman, but I thought everyone looked the part. I was really impressed with Ryan Wingo. Cohen Brown, too. I know CJ's been talking about him on Texas football, about the offseason he's had. Sark hyped him up yesterday as well. I'm not saying he's going to play this year much, maybe more on special teams, but a guy that's really, taken to the college strength and conditioning and doing what he needs to do.
All right, guys, I want to play a clip here. I know y'all been talking about who's looked impressive, all that good stuff, but Sark was also asked that. And let's see what he had to say.
I'll tell you who I was impressed with the other way was Ian Jaffard, where his weight is at, what his body looks like right now and his ability to move. That's super encouraging for us. Like this guy's down almost 25 pounds now, and so I look at it both ways, guys who have built up. Cohen Brown looks phenomenal. I mean, you talk about a guy who's bought into a college program and I always forget guys after the fact. Well, I should have said him. And Derek Cooper, for a guy who's just should get in here, looks great. So a lot of the guys have bought into it. Like I said, I think Coach Becton and his team do a great job with our guys all summer long. And I thought this team bought into the summer. They were really committed to the summer. I thought it was helpful. I'll tell you who I was impressed.
Got that
He
loop
also-
function on.
Yeah, there was another piece of that, Jerry, and you and I kind of nudged each other afterwards. He said Rasheem Biles made his presence known. Hank, you were there as well at the presser. Made a play 40 yards downfield on a football.
Is anybody surprised? I mean, like, I'm not surprised that Rasheem Biles, like when somebody asked about who stood out, was he the first or second person player out of his mouth? That doesn't surprise me. That guy's just born to play football. That's the thing I keep saying about Rasheem Biles. Some guys, Quandre Diggs was born to play football. Rasheem Biles was born to play football. Like, it's just like he was working on first team punt block, punt coverage team yesterday. So, I mean, is he going to be the guy that blocks the first punt this year? I'm probably going to bet on that because he's just born to play football. He just finds a freaking way to get things done. But, somebody asked about Biles, and Sark was talking about, the first time I turned on this tape. Well, yeah, that's the same thing we thought when we watched this tape. We're like, that guy's making plays that linebackers don't generally make in coverage. That's just the intercepting the ball up over your shoulder and turning and looking like Derek Cooper running it the other way, right? It's like, that's not normal stuff. I said on that, our Ask Us Anything we're talking about practice thread. I think Ian Gerfard is probably not being talked about enough of how much of an impact he's going to have on this team. Like Kenny Baker and Muschamp said, this is our guy. We don't have anybody like him in this program. And that's not a knock on Murad Watson and Alex January. They're really good players. But there aren't many 375, 380-pound players that have movement skills like Ian Gerfard does and can line up over the ball and command two and help your linebackers be better and be a run stuffer in the SEC. There just aren't many of those guys around. And I think we're probably everybody's probably underrating how much he's actually going to mean to this defense this year because there's so many other really highly ranked players that came in to the program, whether it be the portal or the high school ranks. Guys like that tend to get underappreciated a little bit for how much they're going to impact winning.
Yeah. Hank, you and I were there. I mean, Jerry, we were all there. And that defensive line, I mean, how many NFL players are on the defensive line? And it's not just the older guys, it's the younger guys too. I mean, Richard Wesley and Jamarian Carlton, Lance Jackson, I mean, Zena, I mean, Justice Terry.
I thought Myron Charles was moving well yesterday too when I saw him.
Yeah, Myron's a hell of an athlete now.
Myron Charles. And then also Josiah Sharp, talking about transforming your body. 340 pounds looks a little bit different this year than the 340 pounds did last year.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all agree with that? I mean,
everybody
saw him yesterday.
He's always had super quick feet for a 340, 350, 360, 370 pounder, wherever he's at. And Sharma was a guy that missed most of his senior season because of transfer rules in California. So he pretty much missed a year of being in football shape. And that natural progression. But Hank's right. Like Myron Charles has skinny ankles at 330, guys. Skinny ankles.
Yeah. When we talk about this, we talk about Josiah Sharma. Imagine the weight moving from your belly to your shoulders. That's kind of what's happened with Josiah Sharma a little bit. Now, it's not that he's skinny or anything like that right now, but the weight has moved from his belly to his shoulders, where it's actual muscle. And so, I mean, I think he has a bright future in football, really bright future in football. But that defensive line, goodness gracious. I mean, Jamari.
By the way, people have asked about Colin Simmons, guys. Colin Simmons was off to the side working on pass rush moves. If they could have put bubble wrap around them, they probably would have officially. But he was kind of off to his side working pass rush moves, and the rest of the D-line work in drills. So I think there's a protection element when, like Sark says, hey, we have to take him off the field sometimes because it destroys practice. I think there's a real protection element of Colin Simmons before this season begins.
Yeah.
We have Hank South here with us, managing editor of On Texas Football. Make sure you're checking out on TexasFootball.com right now. Jerry's mentioned the thread that we have ongoing. a bunch. Hank and CJ and the guys, Jeff, have all put up articles in the last 24 hours on the first practice. But Hank, I want to, before we let you go here at the 30-minute mark, I wanted to ask you, because Jerry and I were talking about our one thing that we took away from yesterday. You slept on it tonight. What was the one big takeaway for you from yesterday?
I would say, and I thought this yesterday and still thought it this morning, just the overall energy. Seeing the guys pull up on the bus, get out, get excited. A lot of the time, it's day one of summer. You still got a whole month before kickoff. How, and also at the same time, day one can be the most exciting. So, but the energy, I thought the leadership was good. I thought, just seeing the guys on the hoof and just seeing them get off the bus and the body transformations. But I would say the energy and just like that positive vibe, I guess, was my biggest takeaway. The guys were excited to be there. It was, probably felt like 110 degrees on that field, if not hotter. And, outside of some guys throwing up a little bit, there weren't guys, slacking or taking plays off. Like they were pushing it. They looked like a team that was hungry. And, for day one, as much as you could see, as much as we saw in 30 minutes, I thought they had the look.
Yeah. You mentioned that, having some of them having a little, dehydration or water sickness, I guess. John Meredith was kind of the famous one there yesterday. He went over to the fence and had to relieve himself of some water, I think.
Well, we didn't see if it was big chunks, little chunks, or water.
What's that?
We didn't see if it was big chunks, little chunks, or water, by the way.
I think it was water. Okay. I think it was water. But my point was, then you had Khalil Lockett. They all fought through it, though. I want to put it like Meredith went back and played some more. Khalil Lockett, CJ was telling me, he saw Khalil Lockett at the line of scrimmage cough up some water, basically, and then he went through his route, caught the ball, and then threw up some more water, and then went back and got the line. That's how hot it was yesterday. It was very hot.
Yeah, and look, John, I want to say this on John Meredith, so I think people have a clear understanding. That's gaining some funny attention out there. But yes, Herman would have went and tested it. That's true. Yes, that was true. And he would have had cupcakes for the media afterwards, by the way, or something. Like in the while we were waiting to talk to the head coach, he would have had some snacks for us. But on Meredith, I think there's one thing I want to kind of point out, because we reported that, other people reported that, and it's kind of turned into a joke a little bit. But he hadn't been doing football activities for a while. He couldn't work out at North Crowley because of the not being ruled ineligible. You can do your DB drills, right? And Coach Flight does a great job up in Dallas, but he has been out of kind of football activities. So this summer, he wasn't there working out with the team, right? He just got there a week ago. So the fact that, for his first day in a college football practice, his lunch ended up on the side wall is not necessarily surprising to me. So, but he showed really good hands. He showed really good hands in drills. He's very smooth before he had to hit the wall. So
you took, your takeaway was just the vibe overall, Hank?
I think so.
Any particular players that you said, oh, that one's moving kind of gliding or kind of pushing it, other than Arch? You mentioned him running ahead of the other group.
I know y'all mentioned him, but I thought Khalil, for coming off an injury, was moving really well, and he was had some bounce in his step. Michael Masunis, again, I think is a guy that I'm really excited to see in this system, especially with this training from Steve Kasula too. Because if you look back, Steve Kasula, you talk to Brock Williams, the tight end commit in 2027. One of the biggest reasons he committed to Texas was because of Steve Kasula, is what he said, and so I thought that was really interesting. So I was excited to see him coach. Masunis, Khalil Lockett, I thought Wingo looked great, and I thought Hollywood Smothers looked really good in the drills I saw as well. So a lot of excitement. I'll be curious to see what they look like today after a day of practice. I wouldn't imagine they're very sore. They go through this strenuous summer conditioning, but you never know. After that first day on the field, and I did 2 days. The next day, the second or third day were harder than day one.
One of the interesting things Sark said yesterday, playing off of that, was somebody asked him about health of team after practice one. He said they only had 5 cramps in the first practice yesterday. And why that number was kind of impressive, they had 38 cramps his first practice at Texas, he said. 38, which that number is unbelievable, by the way. So he said 5 yesterday. So I think he was kind of had a smile, and they were kind of proud of that. That they only had 5 yesterday on a really hot day after having 38 the first practice at Texas, his first August practice at Texas. What does it mean? Doesn't mean you're going to win a game or lose a game, but it's just an interesting number of how many cramps they had when he got there.
Gonna drink some pickle juice.
All right. Well, Hank, thank you so much for joining us, man. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys later.
All right. See you over there at
Bye.
football.com, man.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, we got more to talk about this morning. But first, Bobby, if you don't mind, I need you to tell everyone about our friends over at SeatGeek.
I can do it. If you're looking for tickets, there is no better place than SeatGeek. SeatGeek, the app is absolutely tremendous. They even have a section where it gives you whether or not the ticket is a green or a red. That means green means good, red means bad. They rate this ticket on the scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal or not. That's really transparency from SeatGeek. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. With more than 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. I want to give them a huge shout out because they are a sponsor of On Texas Football, and we appreciate them very much. Of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code OTF10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets. Use promo code OTF10. Make sure you click the link in the description of this show to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you from our friends over at SeatGeek. Again, use code OTF10 for 10% off tickets on SeatGeek.
Thank you, Bobby. And I am going to tell everyone this morning about Prize Picks because we are always looking for ways to make watching games a little more fun, and that's exactly why we love Prize Picks. It's America's #1 sports pick app, and honestly, it's about as simple as it gets. For player picks, all you do is choose more or less on a few player stats. You lock in your lineup, and you're ready to go. But if you're someone who likes picking teams instead of individual players, Prize Picks has you covered there as well. You can now pick the winner. You can pick the spread or the total on games and even fights. And Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Florida, and right here in the Lone Star State. So chances are you can jump in today. One of my favorite features is that you can follow users on the app. If you like picks they're making, you can tell them with one click. Makes it super easy to follow your friends' picks. And the best part is, if you've never tried Prize Picks before, play your first $5 lineup. If you win, you're going to get $150 in bonus lineups. Just make sure to use code HMA when you sign up. They actually just updated this offer, so there's never been a better time to get started. And if you want to get started with my picks today, I have Angels pitcher Ryan Johnson to have over 2.5 strikeouts, along with some WNBA action, Caitlin Clark to have over 19.5 points. So come follow me and make those picks or make your own. Download that Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you sign up. And remember, play that first $5 lineup. If you win, you're going to get $150 in bonus lineups. That's Prize Picks. Code HMA. Good luck to you. And as always, play smart, play responsibly. Play Prize Picks.
Hey, I want to answer one question real quick because it's come up on D-line. Texas has Zion Williams listed at 370. Is that accurate? I'd say that's pretty accurate. He's a big dude. He's going to have a hard time weighing less than 350.
I would say he's definitely behind every other defensive tackle.
Oh, yeah. No, he's very
I think,
yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that to, talk about it. I just think that comparing him to two guys that came into Texas at the same time that he went into LSU, and Josiah Sharma and Myron Charles, there's no question that Sharma and Charles are well ahead of Zion Williams right now in the same amount of time in college athletics. You agree with that, Jerry? I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
We got a lot of practice related questions, so we're gonna jump into those. But first, we got a super chat here from Rocky P. He said, asking for Jerry's abandoned child, Joe Z. How did Flood look out there, and how different did it feel with Muschamp on day one?
Man, I'll say this: Flood and Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker's lost a lot of weight, by the way. Those guys are pretty slimmed up for their position coaches as offensive and defensive line guys. How different did it feel with Muschamp? I'm not sure we saw enough. I would say it took a little longer for the first 4-letter bomb drop than I thought it would have. I paid attention, and I was thinking like 9-10 minutes in, but the first one I heard was right before we ended the media window. He took a little longer to get going.
He is,
but he got him out.
I will say this. I mean, he's like in it though. Like, he was involved even in the gunner drill that Blake Gideon was running, and Chris Jackson was running. I mean, Muschamp was back there watching them go through that. And when I say gunner, I'm talking about special teams. Yeah. So it was interesting stuff.
All right. Let's see here. Let's do, speaking of Josie, Justice Terry update, please.
Planet Fitness looked great physically. You saw him run through some drills. Nothing really beyond that. I mean, look, he is who he is as an athlete. There was a reason he was ranked as high as he was coming out of high school. There was nothing yesterday that's going to determine what type of season he's going to have. I want to be clear on that, like practicing. Yesterday for me was how guys looked physically and kind of how they ran out in the first team offensive line, second team offensive line, same at all the other positions. That's what was big for me yesterday. But Justice, if anybody's out there saying this is a type of season Justice Terry is going to have, I'd ask them, how do you know after 9 drills? I mean, like, right. It doesn't work that way. But one thing I'd say about Justice Terry is he has gained 30 pounds since he arrived. He was 258, I think, when he first arrived at Texas. Now he's listed at 289, so probably 288 to 292, depending on when you weigh him. But the thing that excites me is he hasn't been a healthy football player since midway through his junior year. This will be the first time, because he finally had that shoulder pec kind of cleaned up. This will be the first time he's going to operate as a healthy player in a long time. So that excites me about where he can go. But, he looks good physically. I think there's a
good isn't a good enough. Hey, good is not a proper step. He looks great.
He's Planet Fitness. He's Planet Fitness for a reason. He has an opportunity. Here's the opportunity I think he has. We talk about how good the defensive line interior guys are, like Ian Jaffard, over the ball player, right? I think Murad Watson can play over the ball or a 3. Alex January, Hiro Kunu. I still think there's a possibility for somebody to come in and take over as the true disruptor. Is that going to be Justice Terry? We'll see. But I think there's that ability right there. And if I had to say who has the best chance to be that guy, I think Murad Watson, when he's healthy, has shown that ability. I think Justice Terry athletically certainly has that ability now that he looks weight-wise like an interior SEC defensive lineman. Bobby, did Sark say when full pads go on?
No, but it's typically 3 days in, so probably over the weekend.
Be Saturday.
Yeah, no, or it could end up being Monday.
Yeah.
I think that here's what I would say about Justice Terry, just to add on to what Jerry was saying there, is I think that there are a multitude of guys that can really play on the defensive line. I'm telling you, when we had Hank South on earlier, I talked about seeing that group of defensive linemen and saying, wow, there may be 7 or 8 NFL players in that group. I mean, no kidding. That's how talented they are. Different ages. Like I would put Jamarian Carlton and Richie Wesley in that. They're true freshmen. So it's not all upperclassmen that are that good or that talented. But Justice Terry when you start saying, okay, who's the quickest of that bunch, and not quickest, not named Colin Simmons, it's Justice Terry or Jamarian Carlton probably. And I just feel like his quickness combined with his new size and maybe with his health, to Jerry's point, is that mix that Texas needs to create some disruption against a Julian Sayin or against a Sam Levitt, Trinidad Chambliss, those kind of guys when they're going to play really good quarterbacks this year.
All right, our next question this morning comes from Cade Stewart. And Cade asks, good morning, OTF, be honest. Is this the biggest and fastest roster that y'all have seen on the 40 acres in a while?
I can't say that. Like, I just think it's I wouldn't say this is the fastest roster. Maybe overall 1 to 85.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, look,
85
Texas
don't play.
Well, yeah, 85 don't play, and Texas isn't necessarily super fast in the secondary, in my opinion. I mean, they're not at safety. I mean, Jelani McDonald's, he's got long speed, but he's not. And Derek Williams, there are aspects of this team that are not necessarily fast. Like, I wouldn't call Michael Masunas fast at tight end. I would call Nick Townsend fast, but I think that the athleticism, the depth, and I even asked Sark about it, his depth. Yes. I asked him at yesterday's presser about the depth of the team, guys. And he's like, look, it's early. And we all know it's early, but he does have a lot of tools. I mean, you're watching Raleek Brown right here, getting ready to get the handoff from Arch. I mean, they've got pieces of the puzzle all over the place. The question that comes to my mind is, how are they compared to everybody else? I will say this. The defensive line is the biggest. I don't know that the offensive line is the biggest that I've seen. Speed, maybe but Jaden Blue was fast. Xavier Worthy's fast. I mean, Adonai Mitchell is fast. So I just don't know that I would say this is the fastest team. That's my take on it. John Meredith 0 right there, by the way.
Yeah, I think some of the younger guys who may not play as much are the fastest players on this team. I think 1 through 85, this may be the fastest team on paper, 1 through 85, but all those 85 don't play. I mean, the young linebackers are going to have some speed to them, but how many reps are they actually going to get? That may be more of a next year thing. I will say this though. I think one position where I think this is the fastest, most athletic Texas has been in a while is at linebacker.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Biles and Ty Anthony Smith, those two guys alone are very high-end athletes at that position. That may be one position. And the young guys like Kosi Paul is an athletic guy. Rocky Cummings he's got speed and he's going to put on 15 more pounds. But how much is he going to be seen this year? But I think some of the in-game speed linebackers is going to be as fast as we've seen in a while.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Trey Moore, even though he went to the NFL, Leonga Lafau, he was more of a ball seeker and not necessarily a fast guy. Even with Anthony Hill going to the pros, who's as athletic and as any of them. I think you're right. The depth with Brad Spence, Ty Anthony Smith, and Rasheem Biles, I think from the starting group, that is the fastest linebacker core Texas has had in some time.
And our next question this morning, speaking of linebackers, comes from Christopher. He says, really looking forward to seeing Tyler Atkinson play. Think he's going to be the next great Texas linebacker. Any news on him and how he looked yesterday?
Listed at 219, 220. There was, that was a non-contact practice. So linebackers aren't, they're going to be limited. That's as instinctive a position as there is when you play on the interior. I think the biggest thing with Atkinson's going to be, if you watched him in high school and and you said and you watched his tape and you said, okay, this guy's a tremendous just go find ball player. Obviously, the one thing that changes, and he could freelance at Grayson, do whatever he wanted to do, essentially, because that's what you do with a guy like that in high school. When you get to the college level and you're playing inside those tackles, it's about taking on people, and you can't swim everybody, right? So there's a lot more development there to play on the inside at the college level, at the high end college level. A lot more assignment sound football, so that's part of the learning for him. And look, I think he was third team yesterday, Bobby, going out there. But what does that mean? We'll see. I'm not sure I'd bet on him playing a lot of meaningful snaps this year if the guys in front of him stay healthy. I think when you get to more year two.
I would not be surprised if they deploy him as Rasheem Biles backup. And because Rasheem Biles, I think, just from watching and hearing what Sark talked about, I think he's going to have some latitude to do some things. That's what I believe. So that's where I'm at.
Yep.
And our next question this morning comes from Living Rent Free in UT. Was there anything of note from lesser talked about players in the secondary, like maybe Warren Roberson, Wardell Mack, or Jordan Johnson-Rubell?
Couple of notes. Warren Roberson, I think Will Muschamp likes Warren Roberson. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but when coaches give a little extra effort on some guys, I think he's given a little extra effort on Warren Roberson. Could be wrong, but he was talking to him every time he went through a drill. Wardell Mack right now, I felt like he was behind already Xavier Filsaime at nickel. Because when they did drills, it was Grayson Littleton first, Xavier Filsaime second, and then Wardell Mack 3, just to give you an idea. As far as Jordan Johnson-Rubell, he went out with the 2s. He looks like a small linebacker is what he looks like physically. He's really top heavy chested. I did not see him. We couldn't really see much beyond just the starting group and them going through drills. To Jerry's point and Hank's point that we talked to earlier, they weren't doing a lot of matchup against receivers. They were just running through some individual drills.
And a follow-up to that, if I can find it here. Right here from Cade. Was Jonah going through drills?
Absolutely. Jerry, let's talk about the bounce back guys, because you mentioned that, wanting to see everybody healthy. Jonah was healthy. Khalil Lockett was healthy. I mean, made a couple of nice catches in practice. We talked about that. Justice Terry healthy. Ryan Wingo healthy. Emmett Mosley healthy. I mean, basically all the bounce back guys that we were worried about were there. There were a couple things that we saw pre-camp, or not pre. How do I want to say this? As we were walking in, we saw a couple of guys go up and be with the trainers. Yaheem Riley was one of those. The freshman from Austin Anderson did not work out yesterday. We also saw Elijah Ali, the new defensive lineman from California that just came in this summer. He was a late signee. He went and visited with the training staff yesterday. And Jerry, there was one more. Oh, Smoke Matthews also went to meet with the training staff yesterday. We do not know what the injuries were there, although Riley was wearing a knee brace of some sort.
Heavy knee brace.
So what's that injury? We'd have to ask and get some clarification. But those were the only 3 we really saw sit out much of practice yesterday, even though we saw some guys with some water problems at times. But they weren't sitting out the practice.
Yeah, I think, it'll be interesting today to see when we're out there is, for me, is like seeing Justice Terry and Jonah Williams just out there was good for me, because they haven't been fully healthy in a while. So you just hope those guys get a chance as healthy players. And I think this is such a big football season for Jonah, because as we talked about, this is his year. He's got to make a move in football, because he's going to be draft eligible in baseball if he has a healthy season in the spring. So that's that's going to be interesting, kind of his timeline of how things work. He needs to have a fully healthy season in football and actually see what he can do, I think, for his mindset. I mean, if he has a healthy season in baseball, he's going to be a draftable guy for sure. If he shows any pop, Blake, I mean, if he shows any power in baseball, he may be a first, second round guy, sandwich guy. So he's that talented and toolsy. So I just want him to have a chance to see what he can do on a football field, because I do think there's opportunity. That safety opposite Jelani McDonald that's a coverage spot. And I think that's why Kobe Black was moved to safety. I know that's why he was moved to safety, because they got to find the right guy in coverage there in Will Muschamp's scheme. And that doesn't mean only one guy's going to play, but I think Jonah Williams could excel in that regard if he stays healthy and is on the field. And we talked about Justice Terry. And so I think it's really big August and football season for Jonah Williams, because I think there's going to start to be that baseball pressure of a draft if he has a healthy season next spring and summer.
One more piece. We talked about all those bounce back guys that were injured in the spring and how they rebounded, and they were all available yesterday, except for I think Caden Sherr was held out of some contact. But the other one that I wanted to mention is Derek Williams. Now he's 2 years removed, right, from his injury, but you could tell the injury had still kind of slowed him down a little bit yesterday. I'm going to say this. I actually think that he looked better yesterday than he did last year. So sometimes these injuries take a little time. I mean, Cedric Baxter never got good last year, never got back to 100%. Sometimes it takes longer for these guys to get back to 100%. I think Derek Williams is closer to that now than he was a year ago. The question I have is whether or not he can do the coverage stuff that Jerry was talking about that's required out of that second safety still, because he's not necessarily a cover guy.
Yeah.
Now we're going to get some more of y'all's practice questions in just a moment. But first, a quick word from one of our sponsors, Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
And Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Mint Mobile.
Always good to hear from Colt and Vince. When we were kids, summer meant freedom, no homework, no teachers, no school. And as adults, summer still means freedom thanks to Mint Mobile's summer sale. Right now, all of Mint's plans are $15 per month, even the unlimited one. So free yourself from big wireless and their gimmicks and gotchas, and switch to Mint for high-speed data and coverage on the T-Mobile 5G network. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right with premium wireless for $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your current phone and your phone number. No problems there. Choose from 3, 6, or 12-month plans and say goodbye to a monthly bill. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's it. There's no catch. An upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6, or $180 for 12 months of the plan is required. That's $15 per month equivalent, like we discussed. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabyte may slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabytes of hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com/ontexas.
Hey, I want to bring up one thing because I think Freelance has asked about Colton Vosick. He said, so my take on Colton Vosick is, look, he's out there healthy. My whole thing is, can he stay healthy? He hasn't had a fully healthy season at Texas, so I'm not going to kind of jump out there on him. Look, do I think he could help Texas? I absolutely think he could help Texas, but he's just got to stay healthy long enough to give himself a chance. He just hasn't had that in his career at Texas. And I think
Fingers
if he ever
crossed.
does, he can help Texas.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Because I do think he's a good, strong side defensive end.
Yep.
And I would love nothing more than see him have a strong fourth year.
Yeah, he's had bad injury luck. Just some guys have it, and he's had it.
All right, our next question this morning is from Alec. And Alec asked, which freshman, offense or defense, will have the biggest impact this season?
Derek Cooper. I think as the season moves along, Jermaine Bishop. Not sure how much in a Ohio State game. I think that's an experience game at wide receiver. But I think as the season moves along, Bishop, he's just too good. The more he plays, the more plays he'll make. And then he just forces his way in. Derek Cooper for sure. I think Richard Wesley will have a place on this team defensively.
I would probably go with Cooper and Wesley at this point. Although, let's wait. I can't answer this, Alex, or Alec, excuse me. I can't answer this well, in part because when the ball gets put in play and they're in pads and they start keeping score in scrimmages, if Jermaine Bishop starts scoring touchdowns, that eliminates all other discussions. I mean, it just does, because I think he's that type of player. I just don't know if we're going to see that immediately. He's going to have to do that, and then I would say Jermaine Bishop. But right now I would say Cooper and Wesley.
And a super chat here. Switch gears for just a moment from Jonah Williams Enthusiast. Thank you, Jonah Williams Enthusiast. He says, I work at a golf resort. I caddied for 4 Oklahoma alums. Turns out there's decent OU folk out there. Thanks for the work, boys.
Yeah, there are some. It's too few. They're few and far between.
But there are some.
Yeah. It's probably the ones that were on the losing streak against Texas, though, because they don't have as much to talk about. Probably not neither Bob Stoops early guys where they're winning 65, 13. Because I've been yapping the whole time.
They're nice to you right now because they're still just trying to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby, I've seen this question asked a couple times before we get back to some more practice-related questions, so I need to ask you this. This is this one today from Dave Elliott, but it's been asked at least 3 or 4 times this week. Are y'all having lunch with the coach this year? If so, will it be the same crew? It's a great show.
I'll appreciate that. Yes, we are. I talked to Coach Brian Irwin, and Coach Shipley last week about this, and it is coming back this season. So very excited about that. Those guys, they love the University of Texas. They love watching football and talking ball. So that's always fun for me to kind of bend their ear during the middle of the season, see what they're seeing. Coach Irwin, by the way, is big on Arch Manning, just for the record, from a movement in the pocket standpoint. I think he thinks that may be what he does as well as anybody. Putting that out there.
I agree.
Tyler here. Tyler says Masunis is known for his blocking, but how's his pass catching?
He was catching the ball away from his body yesterday. Hank South, managing editor of OnTexasFootball.com, visited with us earlier today and talked about this. He was catching the ball away from his body. He's not Gunnar Helm. You're not going to see this highly fluid athlete that's going to split defenses down the seams. That's not him. That being said, he's definitely put together like a pro athlete. He's more like a Jeff Swaim. Jerry, you know what I'm talking about here. He's an inline guy that has an NFL body. He was, by the way, just recently nominated for the Mackey Award. He's on the Mackey Award watch list. But I would not call him a pass-catching threat. I would call him a capable receiver, not necessarily a threat. I really think that, I was talking to someone yesterday afternoon after practice, and the thing you want out of Masunis is the C area blocking. You want that outside zone, being able to move people and stay with the defensive end, and if he can do that, he's worth his weight in gold, because Texas and Sark loves to run that play.
And then Tyler Justice with the question here. Do we have at least one 1,000-yard rusher this season? I know both Brown and Smothers did it last season, but is that too many mouths to feed? What are y'all's thoughts?
Never too many mouths to feed when you're playing in the SEC. And I mean, look, Texas is still gun shy from 2 years ago, I think. And I'm talking about the personnel staff. When they ended up with just 2 healthy backs, that was not good for them long term. And it would be time. There would be games where it was just 1 healthy back in 24. And so I think that they don't think there's too many mouths to feed. Ultimately, will there be a 1,000-yard back? I'm 50-50 on that. I don't have a strong feeling either way, I think, right now.
Yeah, so much. Look, if we're talking 12 games, I don't know. I think my thing is, what do the 3 backs combine to rush for? Like, if Derek Cooper's your third, and I think he is, what do those guys combine to rush for? How many attempts do they have? That's kind of the things I'm looking at, is the combination of that. I think that's going to tell us how well Texas runs the football this year. I mean, if you look back to 2023 season, Jonathan Brooks had 1,139 before he went down, right? And Baxter ended up with 659, and Blue had 398, 400, whatever that number is, right? So they combined for about 2,200 yards that season. Obviously played in 14 games, so 15 games. So they had a lot of games to put up those numbers. But the thing I look for is in the 12 games. Let's say 12 games. It's the number of carries those guys get and the number of combined yards those guys get that I'm going to be looking at, because that's really going to tell us how well Texas runs the football against a really strong schedule. Because I've been going back to the whole offseason. 52.5 run, 47.5 pass. I think that's about where Sark is traditionally as a coach. That's kind of the numbers I want to see this year. I don't really care how they do it, who has the most yards. I just care about that's what the numbers look like, because I think that's going to give Texas the best chance to maximize this team this year if he's around those normal numbers.
Blake, I need to add one bit of news that broke after practice and after Steve Sarkisian took the mic, by the way. So Sark, during the post-practice interview yesterday, was asked specifically about Cole Hudson and where he was at with his legal maneuvering, I guess is the best way to put it. About 15 minutes after that presser finished, Cole Hudson was granted he reached an agreement with the NCAA. His attorneys reached an agreement with the NCAA that Hudson would be allowed to play in the 2026 season. So that part is gone. I don't know when he's actually going to rejoin the team, but A, Texas does want him back. B, he will be back. And C, this whole thing frees up the Longhorns to try another guy at left guard, frankly, or even center potentially if they want to go in that route. Hudson is already in Austin, has been in Austin for a couple of days, hoping that this would get overturned and turned into this agreement. So good for him. He doesn't have to wait till August 10th, where they were going to have a discussion about the temporary restraining order.
Good stuff. Thanks for sharing. All right, we got time for just another question or two. But first, Bobby, one more time, let us know about Vaughn Lane.
Yeah, best deal out there. Texas OU week just got a whole lot easier. Vaughn Lane is bringing back its Dallas, Oklahoma City route starting September 8th. So if you're a Longhorn living in Soonerland, you can get down to Dallas with multiple departures every single day. Riders have been asking for this one, and now it's back. You can book it today. Think about what it takes to fly that route. You're paying for your ticket, then paying again for a seat assignment, again for a checked bag, and then you're standing in a TSA line hoping you make your gate. Vaughn Lane's the opposite of all that. Flat rate, $129 one way, no extra fees for anything. You board at a beautiful hotel terminal in minutes. Settle into one of 22 oversized leather seats and ride with Starlink Wi-Fi, complimentary snacks, drinks, and hot towel service the whole way. And if you're driving, that's 3 hours plus of your day gone. On Vaughn Lane, that's 3 hours of getting work done, watching film, or just relaxing before you get there. Vaughn Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Oklahoma City, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Book at vaughnlane.com and enter code OTF26 at checkout for $20 off your first ride. Vaughn Lane, your private jet on wheels.
This is a good one, Blake. What will the defense do differently this year under Coach Boone compared to last year? Well, he famously said thoroughbreds run forward, so Colin Simmons probably won't drop in coverage as much, which is a good start. You're going to be more aggressive at the line of scrimmage and coverage. You're going to have a little bit higher blitz rate, maybe a lot higher blitz rate. We'll see that. There'll be more multiplicity, more disguise, I think, overall. Now, what are the results? We'll see. Playing a bunch. This is the best group of quarterbacks Texas has played since Sark's been at Texas. A couple of guys are going to have hot days against you. It's just going to happen. So I would say be ready. But I think those are the differences you're going to see. And I think the way not that there was a Rasheem Biles type player last year, but how he deploys him is going to look different than any linebacker in the past few years.
All right, let's see here. We got, like I said, we got time for just a couple of more. And gosh, I just had it. Somebody was wanting to know if y'all got a chance to look at California's horn. Field goal kickers. Did anybody get to watch any special teams?
They took those guys into the bubble really quickly, Bobby. Normally they don't, but those guys, it's like they delivered them to the bubble to kick in the indoor.
All we saw was them walk in and walk to the bubble.
Yeah.
That's a fair statement, Jerry.
Yeah.
And then Cade Stewart, are they back on the practice field today, or is it a day off?
No,
same
they're
time,
back.
Same sweat.
Yeah. Yeah. 2:45 this afternoon. We'll be back out there at the Dennis Fields. Jerry, I wonder if I want to ask Sark this. Did you feel like practice was shorter this year than last year? Because he would come into the media room around 5:15, 5:30 after practice last year, and he was there at 4:45, 4:50 yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him. I don't know. We're not going to get Sark in post-practice interview today. We're probably going to get some players, but I want to ask him if he's shortened practice at all. 5-10 minutes even. Something to think about. But no, otherwise, same practice time, same practice schedule for Jerry and I, by the way. We'll be on with a live show right after practice today.
Yeah, definitely a shorter practice, Bobby. I agree.
Felt like it, at least.
Yeah.
And Coach Steve Sarcasm, anything on Andre Kojo yesterday?
Running second team right now behind Melvin Siani. He looked good. Let's see if he pushes Siani for playing time when it really gets going. Right now, it's just about how they look, right? And Kojo is back out there, again, a bounce-back player. We didn't mention him earlier, Jerry, and perhaps we should have. But we'll see how he does once the pads get on.
And let's close with Nathaniel here. What does the pecking order look like at tight end this year?
It looks like to me it's Masunis and Spencer Shannon as your inline guys, and Townsend and Winston as your H-backs. So I think based on what I saw yesterday, Masunis is probably going to eclipse Spencer Shannon, but I think Spencer Shannon is going to see a lot of time in short yardage and two tight end sets. So I think Masunis is going to win that job. At the same time, I don't think that it's like to the detriment of Spencer Shannon long-term. I actually think he's going to be a very positive contributor on this team. At that H-back, Nick Townsend is definitely one, but Amari Winston, I just want to put this out there. He may have he and Khalil Lockett may have the best hands on the team. Like Amari Winston catches the ball really clean, like cleaner than Nick Townsend for sure. And Nick Townsend doesn't fight the ball, but I'll just put that out there. Don't be surprised if Amari Winston catches a tight end screen at some point this year and does something.
I got to say something funny. Tyler Justice said, I need to put up a sign that reads vomit zone. It's amazing. All the guys that any DB, they all go to the same spot within like a yard of each other. It's kind of crazy, man. It's that I said that in the post practice show. I just think that's funny. Like how it's almost like, hey, dude, if you're gonna go puke, you go right there to this area. It's like they're all within a yard of each other when they puke every year in practice. It's kind of funny to see. It's like if you have a dog, they go use the same fire hydrant or tree. It's like all these guys puke in the same spot. Like, how is that even possible, man? Did they tell Meredith, hey man, I got sick my first practice. This is where you go puke. This is it.
He was looking for shade. That's what he was looking for.
They go to the same spot where you have a little shade within a yard.
Speaking of a little shade, Rocky P says, big hat today, Bobby. Are you going to let us all down again?
I am going to let you down again because I don't think, like I said yesterday, if I would have walked in with that, I think Sark would have looked at me and said, get the crazy stuff out of here. He's down to business right now.
And to wrap up a super chat from Rocky P, how is Weaver able to transfer to Houston when he didn't enter the portal until August 3rd?
Here's what happened with those guys. They both media asked them, and they said they're going in the portal. That the other day when the Friday ruling came down, they actually snuck in the portal, and I confirmed this was a member of the Texas basketball staff Tuesday. They snuck in the portal on the final couple of hours in the original portal window for basketball players. So they snuck in at the very end. I think the agents just said, do this late just in case, is what happened there. Kendall Weaver, U of H, as a reserve player, really good fit for him. I mean, that's a really good fit in Kelvin Sampson's defensive and his scheme. He'll be a really good like 8th, 9th guy for U of H next year, in my estimation. I hear A&M's making a run at Jordan Pope because they don't know if Bryson Warren's going to get eligible. And by the way, good guys, did really everything Texas asked of them. Those guys were never a possibility to come back to Texas.
Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Coffee and Football presented by the good folks at Vaughn Lane. I want to thank Vaughn Lane along with Prize Picks, Mint Mobile, SeatGeek, and Advanced Pain Care for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Glad we got to get to a lot of those questions because sometimes, we just don't have time to get to all of them. But today we knocked out a great chunk of them. And Bobby, what do you have later today?
We just talked to Hank South. I'm trying to get everybody that was there for us at practice yesterday to give their take on it. One of the people that we haven't heard from yet is Jordan Scruggs. Jordan was out taking photos and video for us yesterday. He, myself, and Jeff Howe are going to talk a little practice later today, this morning before practice 2. Then Jerry and I will get on and talk to you after practice this afternoon. Then we'll likely have something from the player availability after that, as well as the live stream tonight, which will be, I think Rod Babers will be hosting. He will actually be able to give his feelings on the team this year. He's going to be out at practice today too. So we've got a full day. It is, I can't tell you, like there's fun. I started this off. I'm just excited that there's football back. We're 30 days away now from the games, but yesterday was like me opening up some presents. Bryant Westbrook. Woo! Steve Worcester. Woo Worcester. Bryant Westbrook still created the quietest moment in DKR football history. You could hear a pin drop when he hit Randy Kinder, the running back from Notre Dame. It was deafening. Everybody exploded thinking, wow, what a hit. And then Kinder didn't move for like 5 seconds and everybody just went totally silent. Kinder ended up being okay. But Westbrook delivered that. Wooster, 3-time first team All Southwest Conference, 2-time consensus All-American out of Bridge City, Texas.
Last I looked, Bryant Westbrook was now coaching. He lives in the Scottsdale area, was coaching out there in the Scottsdale area. I'll see if we can look him up. Maybe we can get him on the show. I'd love to talk to him. And for any DB that thinks they're physical, go watch his tape and then tell me if you're still as physical as you think.
I think Leland McElroy, by the way, still feels it. From his time in College Station.
Quentin Jammer had that same level of physicality to him.
Yeah, but Westbrook had that timing.
Yeah.
There's physicality, and then there's physicality with that special timing. That's what Westbrook had. I mean, and that was back at a time when you could launch too, by the way.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
You can't do that anymore.
He would have been neutered in today's game.
Yes. Yes. Top 5 pick in the NFL draft, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, by the way, head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Take advantage of the 3-for-3 special right now. This is for new members only. This is a limited time offer, and this will take you almost to the end of 2026 here. But get the best Horns coverage every day. No promo code needed. Just go over to ontexasfootball.com. Sign up. We got practice coverage, breaking news, team coverage, insider access, recruiting intel, and plus all the other sports as well. $3 for your first 3 months. New subscribers only. Go check us out at ontexasfootball.com. And we hope you all have a phenomenal day today. Of course, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.